Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining. Today we welcome you all to Global Biz Apps Weekend 2020 powered by Digital Chaps. It's day 2 today and we hope you are doing well and keeping safe. I'm Vivek Patil, moderating the session along with Preeti Pipalia. This session is presented by Avantika Narayan. Avantika will be talking about driving modern BI data culture with Power BI. About Avantika, Avantika is a technology specialist and analytics at Microsoft, carrying over 15 years of experience. She is the expert of business intelligence, visualizations, and data warehousing technologies. An extremely good leader and technology enthusiast, she also essays at publicly speaking and loves sharing knowledge. Before I hand over the session to Avantika, I would like to mention that if you have any queries, please feel free to drop it in the chat window. We'll take them either during the session, if possible, or during the QA time. Thank you again for joining and enjoy the session. Avantika, over to you.
Thanks so much, Vivek. Am I audible?
Yes, very much audible.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for the introduction. And thank you for the patience. I did experience a little bit of system issue. And however, I'm just glad we are able to get started right now. Okay. So without further ado, I have about 35, 40 minutes to go, and I'm hoping to give you as much as insight as possible. I'm really happy and excited to be here amongst each and every one of you once again this year for this session. And when we talk about a modern BI data culture or trying to create an environment where everyone is able to innovate, experience self-service, experience the power of AI. That is what it is when we talk about bringing all of those powers together in a modern BI journey, right? So I'm going to show across to you some of these latest developments we've had in in Power BI itself, and how that has been how that has been extremely helpful in a lot of our Fortune 500 customers as well in easing out their activities, right? So that's what we're going to look at. And you will see some of these cool enterprises, right, leveraging these scenarios across verticals, whether you're an HR professional, whether you're a business intelligence professional, whether you're a core analytics, whether you're a core marketing professional or a banking professional, uh, these are innovations which have been extremely helpful in all of these buckets that we are sort of looking at today, right? And with the kind of investments that Microsoft has been doing, and you probably have been reading about it publicly as well, right? A lot of the AI innovations is what has been the complete focus of the entire way in our work has been, right? Some of these experiences, I've just called this out, you will see this also publicly available, is, people find it extremely easy when they have a lot of access to AI, pre-built models, cognitive services, and you would have been hearing a lot around AI experiences. How do users leverage the power of, not just insights in the way that you're able to slice and dice and do what you traditionally used to do, but also look at those insights which you're not already looking at and do and derive more out of it, right? So those are all the AI infused BI which is available today in Power BI. Along with it, a lot of activities around the developments that you must have heard around cognitive services, auto ML. There are a lot of pre-built models also available, and you'll see and in our public customer stories, you'll see a lot of these being leveraged even in retail industries. In fact, one of the leaders in water and waste management, a company called as Viola, has also been leveraging a lot of the NLP capabilities that Power BI has been is having inbuilt in to better the experiences. And a lot of the retail industries have also been leveraging it. Now, an interesting component is around embedding, right? Embedding the experiences, what traditionally people would use in a PowerPoint or a SharePoint form into the experience. So I'll just flip over and show you something. This is my Power BI screen where I also have a PowerPoint embedded. So this is a very cool experience. And if you want to add in an Excel to it, you can absolutely do those as well, right? So think about those experiences where traditionally people want to use something like a PowerPoint Excel, and you export everything and it still comes back into that. All of those are also available within Power BI, right? Um, Now, we've been consistently the leaders in the Gartner's quadrant as well as the Forrester Wave, and hence a lot of our enterprise customers as well as small, medium enterprises, startups prefer to use Microsoft Power BI because it has a very easy entry point. The cost of entering and using a BI solution for any organization is much more lower than what you would put together for any of the other solutions combined, right? And hence the scenarios make it all the more easier as well. Now, when we look at the kind of reports, right, both the analytical as well as the traditional MIS sort of reports is something that we do cater to. And I want to pause in a moment and put the entire focus on this one slide, which covers the entire capabilities, I would say on a high level, in terms of what is offered in Power BI. When the very term modern BI means traditionally people would ask an IT person to work on a specific requirement. They work on those specific use cases, a turnaround time which is extremely longer and leads to a lot of cost in terms of Hi, am I audible right now?
Yeah,
Vivek? Okay.
actually, yeah, we had lost you in between, I think.
Okay, I'll repeat the last couple of minutes. Would that be okay, Vivek?
Yeah, that will be okay. Yeah.
I'm going to keep my video off just to ensure that there is no issues in terms of
Yeah,
bandwidth. All right.
good.
I'm going
Yeah.
to reshare my screen again. Just give me one moment, please. All right. Vivek, could you quickly confirm that you're able to see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen. We can see your screen.
Awesome. Great. All right. So now this is a one entire slide that talks about every capability that we do within modern BI, right? This is pretty much on a high level. So let's pick up a few of them. On the extreme last component, which is the Q&A capability, this is a one segment, we've been making a lot of improvements around. In fact, right now, Q&A also offers arithmetic operations as well. So what that means is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So you can say sales of a particular region plus profits of another region. What are the total? So you can do those kind of operations within the Q&A segment, right? The capability that is the smart narratives. Now, this is also an interesting capability which gives report authors an ability to tailor dynamic interactive narratives into reports, which are of course automatically generated by Power BI. So think of this capability as a replacement to what a traditionally a business analyst would do, right? They would look at something, look at a chart or visualization, and they would interpret that, put it into a graphical format and represent it. So that's actually a replacement to that as well, right? And we'll look at some of these components as well around auto ML, around sentiment analysis. And sentiment analysis gives you an easy capability. So think about scenarios where if you want to plug your data into a public system, right? And then you want to quickly run an analysis to find out the sentiment score, a positive, a neutral, and a negative sentiment to find out what do a particular track a feedback system or track in any complaint system for that matter, right? You can absolutely run and leverage those as well. Okay. Let's look at some of these other new capabilities which has actually come out in Power BI as well. The first one is around anomaly detection. So this is a very, very interesting capability, and this just got released a few months earlier. What this means is users right now, right, who are consuming these reports and dashboards can click a button or click on the outlier and identify what are the possible outliers, what are the possible causes for an outlier. They can adjust the sensitivity levels. They can also define what could be the various factors that would impact these outliers. And then, of course, they can understand them. And of course, if they want to add it to the report, they can absolutely do those as well. So think of this sitting in the hands of business users as a capability. Right now, moving over, this is the smart narratives capability again, which got released a few months earlier. This is the capability where the report authors, so that is the developers or the community of the business analysts or the self-service users, can go ahead, right click on a specific option, and they can find out the entire text of what the entire narratives, or what does this entire report or the page indicate, right, with the click of a button. So it is a very simple option which is of course dynamic. Every element that you see marked in blue indicates the value is coming from your original sources. So this gives you a very consistent text using natural language, and you can even add custom text to it. So in addition to the automated text which is being generated, users can go ahead and plug and play their custom text, their plug and play Q&A as well to this particular component. So no longer when we refer to modern BI, we are saying you're sitting with we're no longer talking about an environment where we're sitting with a bunch of requirement gathering analysts and we just give our requirements, but this is giving more than what can be done as well, right? Smart narratives, you can even do this across trend charts as well, right? And and this is the other component that I said, right? And think about the power of PowerPoint being added into your existing PowerPoint, right? So you're adding in custom text, you're also playing around with the colors, the theme, you can add in a hyperlink, link it to another source of data. All of this is something that you can absolutely very easily do. Right now, a Q&A visual, right? A Q&A visual is another way where business analysts or modern BI users find it extremely convenient to leverage the power of, the power of just the NLP, right? Just simply type in your questions and this will automatically start giving you responses. You do not have to like the traditional way, depend on an IT professional to give you this. Q&A is a very easy way where you can just add in, plug and play your synonyms, type in your specific questions that you're looking for, and then of course also add an additional component which says which recognizes what it indicates. So in the example that you're looking at right now, right, it is trying to find out what is the meaning of awesome. So you can even define that. You can even add in custom questions. You can add synonyms, improve vocabulary. You can even add in fixes as well. And you can even define, you can say, what does the word awesome really indicate, right? In this case, I'm saying that anytime the word awesome says it has to be a sentiment value of greater than 0.5, right? Or you can define that and then it gives you the results as well. So you can define all of this, which makes it all the more easier when you look at modernizing the experience a business user will be sensing out of this particular solution. All right, next comes the very interesting component, which is a decomposition tree. This is very simply put, this is something that will help in root cause analysis or traditionally a fishbone, right? So it supports conditional formatting, drill through, pinning of your dashboard. You can even connect to direct query, which is latest information from your data sources, right? So think about real-time data that you can pick by just drilling down into the level of data that you're getting into, right? So this is another capability that is certainly something that you can leverage, right? All right. Another interesting component is, of course, the key influencers. Now, key influencers is another component where you know not only look at and everything that I'm talking about today is all about leveraging the capability of AI within the BI engine itself, right? So when we say key influencers, think about all of those KPIs where you want to just find out what are the various metrics which will impact a specific, what are the various factors that will define or impact a specific metrics, right? And if you want to figure out what influences, say, the attrition in a particular organization, or what is going to influence the total number of returning customers to a specific hotel property, you can absolutely run key influencers to get those metrics as well. Right. Let's also look at additional components around how can you leverage AI to in cognitive services within your Power BI engine when we are talking about modern engine, right? So when we say the power of cognitive services, primarily we are referencing to the sentiment analysis, we are referencing to key phrase extractions, image tagging, and language detection. These are the four services which exist today in Power BI. You can simply choose your source of data, connect to it, select the specific column that you're referencing to, and in a matter of few seconds, you can see the sentiment score being generated here on the extreme right. The sentiment score is not the only thing you can do. You can also leverage key phrase extraction. So let's say you're dealing with a scenario where you have attrition of an exit, you're doing an exit interview of an employee, or you might be in a retail scenario where you're capturing feedback and you want to know what are the commonly used words that are being spoken, right? So those are also things that you can easily capture within this, and of course use those directly within the services, and do additional reporting on top of it, right? And it is as simple as that. The click of a button is all that you need to do. This is a scenario where you can even tag images. So think of scenarios where you have images and you want to quickly find out what is the experience, pull up a word cloud, and of course, do some additional insights around uh, the overall sentiment, whether it is positive, neutral, or negative sentiment that people are experiencing, right? So this is something else that you can absolutely leverage. You also have capability of automated machine learning models today within Power BI, through which you can do binary predictions, you can do classifications, regressions, you can choose your model of data, choose your specific columns that you think is going to get impacted, and then of course just select it, and it automatically runs it for the specified time that you're referencing to, and you can train your model, and that's pretty much what it is, right? It's a very simple way. You can even use this to run on your existing model. Once it is complete, once it's run, there is a confusion matrix which is generated. There is a precision recall value through which you can find out what is the actual versus predicted. And of course, you can drag and drop and do some additional components on top of this as well. You can also leverage the capability of forecasting. Everything that I'm talking about is just click, point and drop, right? It's as simple as that, right? So forecasting is another capability wherein you want to you have a specific data point with you, and you know how the performance has been, say, in a specific period, but you want to know and gauge the performance in a future projected time for X number of points that you're looking for, right? And that is something that you can do. You can also leverage ARIMA forecasting here, and also find out the future changes and the future components that would get impacted through this. Not only that, I know there are some folks who are key in data science, right? Some folks who might be working extensively on R and Python scripts, right? So you can absolutely leverage those capabilities as well. Um, you can also leverage the larger power of the Azure ML services, and leverage these capabilities. Again, choose your data, run and pick up the algorithm that you want to run it with. And of course, it's a very, very simple drag and drop sort of a scenario. Now, in reality, right, you could also be leveraging this along with your Python or your R scripts and do additional analysis and components on top of this. So that's something else that you can leverage. And for all of those Python experts in the group, something to be happy about is the fact that you can absolutely leverage your Python scripts. Now, the good thing about Python scripts is that you can do a lot of analysis out of it, but also the fact that on the flip side, it isn't something which a lot of business users will find it easy to understand or train and work with. Hence, working with R and Python within the engine of the BI specification is extremely critical, because this now brings more meaning to your data. This now brings, you can start merging with your existing data and start doing more activities out of this as well, right? Right, let's move on. Okay, now before we conclude, I have a couple of other capabilities that I'm going to bring up real quick. All right, so in my Power BI engine, I'm going to bring up a couple of capabilities around the capabilities around goals. Now, this is a very, very interesting capabilities, and this is something which a lot of the, I would say, um, folks who do a lot of tracking would really appreciate, right? So whether you're working on sales or whether you're working on marketing or IT, this is something you can absolutely leverage. So think about scenarios where you have you want to do scorecard tracking, right? So you may be doing this today using some of your native applications to do some scorecard tracking, but right now you do not have to leverage those. You can do those within Power BI itself, and typically extremely useful in all of those organizations where you want to achieve those specific objectives, and you know that the targets are measured based on how your data is performing. So this is, of course, a capability which is collaborative, which means that if you are having a scorecard built, you can absolutely share this with other colleagues of yours. And it is also a very easy way and more adaptable way wherein you can measure and find out how your key business metrics, how your goals are built directly on top of Power BI, and how each of them are doing. So you can choose to curate it based on your business function based, and you can actively, all of your team members can also start actively tracking how each of these are doing. So for example, if you want to know whether you're going to achieve a monthly target or a revenue of a specific value, you can find out whether it is on track, whether it is moving forward, progressing, not progressing. You can absolutely do that. You can even do an analysis and checkpoint across each of these segments as well, right? This is one of the most, I would say, proactive ways in which you can share updates to your team members. You can even dive deeper into the data and do a lot of analysis out of this. So one point to note here is all of these scorecards, right, are coming directly from the reports which are actually created by and built by the folks who are using this itself, right? So that makes it all the more easy. You can even create your own custom scorecards and leverage those capabilities as well. Right now, I'm going to move into showing something very interesting. I'm going to flip over to showcasing something in mobile, which means that when we look at a mobile capability, when we talk about modern BI, at the end of the day, in today's scenario, it all comes down to capability of using it wherever you go, right? So just give me one moment. I'm going to just start sharing my screen. Let me know once my mobile screen is visible. Vivek, could you?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
great. So the scenario is right. Modern BI is all about having your power of BI in the hands of where you are, right? Wherever you go, you want security, but you also want to leverage all of your capabilities at your fingertips. So that's what we are also leveraging today. So when we talk about it, so let's look at Power BI app within my mobile. I can look at my executive dashboard. I can open up additional components. Let's start with the goals, shall we? So I've got my goals here and I'm clicking on my goals and I, I mean, I necessarily do not have to have my laptop with me. And I know that there's a specific metric, which is where the metric I've called is increase units to. That particular metric is marked as risky. And the target was supposed to be 4.48%, but it's only 3.51%. And a target date has also been mentioned here, right? And there's a specific target which is actually marked behind. You can pick and choose what are the key goals which has to be identified here. So by looking at this, immediately I know which is behind target, what requires attention, and I can click on it. And of course, go into that specific report that I was leveraging here. Just pause for a minute to this come up. Generally more quicker with a better network, but yeah, okay. All right, so I can look at my specific scorecard and I can find out how many of them are behind target, how many are on target, how many are on due. And of course, I can do additional activities on top of this. I can select a specific component, I can check in, and of course, share this with my other colleagues as well, right? So scorecards are the most interesting way, and I've seen a lot of customers leveraging these capabilities, right? There's also interesting capabilities around leveraging your mobile to the fullest, right? So on the landscape mode, this is pretty much how the view will be on uh, um, your any of your laptop devices. On your portrait, you can pretty much define how the look and feel has to be. You can actually select on a specific component, and this is reality, right? Today we're all sitting disconnected in remote working in most places, right? And you can even annotate this, add in some comments if you want to, add in some text if you want to. And of course, you can share it with your colleagues, with your team members, or you can restrict sharing as well if you want to, right? So you can leverage this. Additionally, you can also add in alerts. Now, I noticed that there was a conversation around Power Apps here, right? Power Apps and Power Automate. Now, this is the most, I would say, an interesting component when we talk about Power BI, right? Because after all, at the end of the day, this is a part of the Power Platform. It is a part of Power Platform. It is the reporting leg of the Power Platform, right? So if you want to leverage the capability of Power Apps and Power Automate to do additional components, you can absolutely do that. Let's say You want to notify a specific set of users, you can leverage Power BI to do it. But what if you want to notify a specific set of users and you want to trigger an SMS notification? Then you can leverage the Power Automate for it. What if you want to trigger a Power BI report or a Power Automate behind to start doing certain activities based on a data entry within a specific system? You can absolutely leverage the Power Apps, the Power Automate, and Power BI to do it, right? Right now, you can also even add in your the commentary information as well. I can tag in my comments to other colleagues in my organization, and they can start leveraging more activities out of this as well, right? All of those AutoML reports, you can access those within your mobile as well. You can also additionally look at Q&A components within a Power BI. You can also add in, look at the recommended components as well within the engine of Power BI as well, right? So those are a lot of those capabilities you certainly have within the leg of whatever you are trying to achieve. Now, more importantly, there's also the activity segment. By clicking on the activity segment, you can start looking at all of those pop-up notifications you start getting within, as part of your privileges, right? If somebody tags you in a specific report, you get to see all of those reports, right? So you can leverage all of those components on this as well, right? I'm going to stop
I'm
my
sorry
screen
to
share.
interrupt, Avantika.
Yeah,
Just a quick time check. We have 7 more minutes to go.
sure. Thank you. I'm done with most of the points that I wanted to cover. I would just summarize in highlighting about most important components, right, within the Power BI segment is centered around a lot of investments we do around the AI space. So if you have to think about that one thing which all of you should know in terms of the capabilities, I would say it is the smart narratives, it is the anomaly detection, um, um, it is the capability of those pre-built models, the root cause analysis, sentiment analysis, the cognitive services that you should be aware of, right? I'll start taking questions right now.
Yep. So first question is from myself only. Okay. So does this goals forecasting is provided as an engine in the backend by default by Microsoft or partner has to build it?
No, you don't have to do anything for it. It's available as part of the enterprise license,
Okay.
capacity license.
Okay, it's a capacity license.
It's a
And does
capacity
it,
license.
okay, is it the extra licensing like other than the Power BI premium, or it comes with the another license which has released recently?
It comes as part of Power BI Premium.
Okay, premium. Okay. There is a second question from Manuel. So are the AI and ML capabilities included with the pro license? Sorry if it was not explained before I joined late. Okay, so it's
Sure. Okay, I got it. Thanks, Manuel, for the question. So I didn't cover the components around licensing. The answer is no. There are some components around Get Insights, the quick insights, which are covered as part of the Pro license. But if you want to look at anything advanced, it is not covered as part of it. A lot of the capabilities and investments within AI and ML require that much amount of capacity to power that kind of use case. So when we say AI, automated ML, or pre-built models, the engine needs to be extremely powerful to, power that kind of a scenario. And hence, it is available in the premium licenses.
okay. Just to add that one, so in that case, the premium licenses will be required by all the users, or if we are publishing the reports somewhere, so even for the viewer it is required. How actually it works?
So in the Pro license, it is not covered. So we a few months earlier this year, we did release the premium per user license. It is covered as
Right.
part of premium per user license. If you are using the user license, individuals also must have that license. If you are not using individual license, then only developer needs to have, you can have a pro license or something for the developer, and for the rest of the organization, you can have a premium capacity. In fact, that might be a good approach or a good scenario also to think about, because do a TCO analysis, because sometimes the PPU license, right, per person or that'll work out more expensive. In such a scenario, a combination of pro plus premium capacity will be a better choice.
Okay. Mm. Any other questions, guys? If you want, you can unmute yourself. So, by the way, another question comes. So, out of these widgets or out of these analytics which you showed, which are readily available and which we need to build ourselves, if I have to be more specific, like sentiment and everything.
Okay,
How?
right. Good question. So the idea of modern BI, the idea of Power Platform is to make everybody's life easy. And if it doesn't make your life easy, it's not Power BI. So, long story short, all of these are available out of the box. You do not have to write any code or anything to do any of these components. So, whether it is smart narratives, whether it is Q&A, whether it is the anomaly detection, whether it is the cognitive services, zero line of code.
Okay, great. Any other queries which I can
Any other
quickly?
questions, team?
Yeah.
Doesn't look like.
And any restrictions on the data sources, or it can be anything like Power BI can connect with anything and it works.
Our data sources are extremely vast. There is an entire page on the website which talks about it.
Yeah,
There's absolutely no restrictions in terms of those. Remember one thing, all the AI ML capabilities, right, within the Power BI engine is engineered in such a way that it is a very good entry point for business users. Today, we deal with a world where business teams know their data in and out, and IT is more of like the arm which does the architecting behind the scenes, right? So,
right.
um, think of all of these power at the hands of business where they don't have to depend on an IT. Of course, I'm not saying that there may be complex scenarios where you will have to have a data scientist. The scenarios here are not a replacement, but an add-on component to make your life more easier and convenient.
Right. And how about the like row level security? Because that was one or two sessions we already had.
Hmm.
So how will it support on the row level security? Like if we want to restrict data, how do you think?
Okay. You can absolutely do row-level security with ease. It actually, when you do your connection to data sources, right, it is already powered from there. You don't have to write again, no coding required. Bring in those specific tables, whether it is based on region, whether it is based on, the specific SKU ID of a product. Mention those out while you're building it, and it is absolutely possible. In fact, Power BI goes one step beyond in terms of security. We even have, with the help of the Microsoft Information Protection, you can even label these reports as into various sensitivity levels. So whether it is general, whether it is confidential, whether it is confidential and full-time employees only, you can absolutely classify those. And not only that, every time the report is exported, the same classification level is also applied automatically. And Power BI is the only tool that does that today.
Yeah, that's great. It was really nice session, and there was something new actually, which we have seen on top of Power BI rather than having only the normal charts and the BIs. Thank you, Avantika, for your time. It was really nice session, and we again want to thank you everyone who were joining up this particular sessions. If you have any queries, I think Avantika will be there for a couple of more minutes, and she can answer your queries. Otherwise, you can drop it onto a chat, and we'll try to take it to Avantika later on. Thank you, Avantika, for joining, and we want to see you more again into next sessions or any of such events further as well.
I just, yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for your patience. I know I came in a little late, unfortunately, because of network, but it is great to be here once again amongst this aspiring and cheering community of, BizApps folks constantly innovating and doing more. Great to be a part of this. And if you have questions, feel free to connect with me on social media. If there is something I could not answer, again, feel free to reach out and I'll be more than happy to answer as well. Thank you once again to all the organizers of the 365 Champs. Thank you for your time and thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Nice day.
Avantika, for joining.